Well, before the city had a name and recipes were written down, West Africans were already shaping what would become New Orleans cuisine. The word gumbo traces back to the word ngombo. I can always say it right, ngombo, okra. It carried across the Atlantic by enslaved Africans who brought seeds and techniques and survival knowledge with them. Now, you think I would know that because I wrote that down. The best gumbo, in my opinion, is usually made in your own kitchen. Well, Chef Toya Booty invited us into hers, and she stirs a pot that tells the story. Gumbo is a meeting place of worlds. African okra, Native American filet, European roux. But at its core, it's another example of Black ingenuity.
Now they were thrown scraps. That's how gumbo came about. It was scraps. And they took those bits and they made something amazing out of it.
Enslaved people built meals from what was available, and they transformed necessity into nourishment and nourishment into culture. So it's fitting we have Chef Toya Booty, the author of Cooking for the Culture, in the kitchen.
I think it's one of those things that we can look back as a direct link to how resourceful we are as a people. It is the proof of how we can take something and we can take all of the bare ingredients that we bring from somewhere and still find a way to bring Africa here.
I feel like now there are so many different variations of gumbo, but how do you stay true to the history that's on this table?
You gotta honor tradition first.
Right.
I always tell people, learn a traditional gumbo first, and then after that, you know, add whatever spin to make it yours.
Bring that over here. Chef Toya gave her spin on a chicken and sausage gumbo.
So you have flour and oil to make the roux. Okay. You see how it's thick at the bottom? I do like this.
Kind of get it all up, scrape all the little bits at the bottom of the
And I use a whisk. You know,
Okay.
I use a whisk all of the time because to me, I think that's how I can manipulate it so fast. I do have a roux spoon, one of those old school wooden spoons. Inside of the pot, I have the Trinity. That's the holy trinity of the food world in New Orleans. That's the onion, celery, and bell pepper.
It's so great.
We have Patton's hot sausage, that's local sausage. I have the chicken sauteed, just lightly to lock in some of the seasoning and also get some of that drippings, you see?
I know.
You see?
Chicken's in.
Now the sausage.
And you don't cut this up?
Now what I'm about to do is make meatballs out of that.
Traditional gumbo, when you look at the traditional gumbo versus us using a roux and using okra to be the thickening agent, which one do you typically lean a little bit more towards?
Oh, history-wise, okra. I mean,
yeah,
you cannot deny the history of the okra. I mean, okra being the, first of all, how we got the name gumbo.
Yeah.
And then two, that's what they did back then.
When enslaved Africans were forced into slave ships, some carried okra seeds hidden in clothing, even hair. By the early 1700s, okra was being planted in Louisiana, thriving in the hot and humid climate, making it one of the first African crops to take root in New Orleans before moving into the broader diet.
The fact that we took it and then we did so much with it, it tells a story.
If America could have a dish right now, what would that dish be to describe where we are?
I think it would be gumbo. For the simple fact that this gumbo that we enjoy today wouldn't be, if it wouldn't be what it is, if it didn't have the original start and it didn't have the modifications and the addition of different cultures.
Tastes like a memory. History in a bowl.